Today we're back with another buying guide video. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Emporio Armani Stronger With You fragrance line. As of the recording of this video, there are 5 versions out there, and I'm going to be covering all of them in this video. Going to be going over the note breakdown, the performance, just kind of the general smell, and just kind of give you a general feel of each scent. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you which ones are my personal favorites and which ones I think are worth picking up. I've been a fan of Stronger With You ever since it first came out. For me, the original and some of the other flankers have always kind of reminded me a bit of something like Replica by the Fireplace by Maison Martin Margiela. That fragrance has a kind of nutty marshmallows by the fireplace, woody, smoky type of smell. And I've always gotten kind of a similar thing out of Stronger With You, the original, and a few of the others as well. And I really like the DNA. I think it's really well done. I find the Stronger With Yous are a bit more designer-ish, a bit more versatile, a bit more mass-pleasing than By the Fireplace. It's just a really nice take on that DNA, something that is a really good wearable compliment getter type of scent for the fall and winter time. So of course I'm going to start with the original Stronger With You by Emporio Armani. Chestnut, vanilla, and cardamom are some of the main notes in this one, and again for me it's all about that chestnut mixing with a bit of vanilla, so it gives you a sweetness there. The cardamom gives you just a little bit of a spicy pop in the opening. Primarily this and the rest of the line is going to have a good amount of sweetness to it, and that sweetness makes it suitable for fall and winter, the cooler weather. And I don't know what it is about these fragrances. I don't know if it's the chestnut mixing with the vanilla, but they all kind of give off a holiday type of smell to me. It just reminds me of the holiday season around Christmas and Thanksgiving and that sort of thing. Just kind of a warm and cozy time of the year, which is complete opposite to summertime when it's all playful and fun and everyone's having fun in the sun. As you get into the cooler months of the year and the holiday season, it's more about snuggling up and it being cold outside, and fragrances like this are suitable for that, and they just kind of remind me of that time. So every time I smell a Stronger With You scent, that's kind of what I'm reminded of. And for me, the original conveys that very well. It has this roasted chestnut type of smell, the sweetness, almost this creamy marshmallow type of smell also. There's just something about it that is very pleasant, and it is undeniably sexy and mass appealing. This type of scent DNA is a great compliment getter, and you would expect that from an Armani scent. Quality is great on this one, and it's the same across the line as well. The bottles on these are also really good. They're hefty, the caps are okay. They click in good, some more than others, and after you take them off more, they do start to loosen up, but presentation on these are nice. I find performance on my skin on the original to be maybe a bit weaker than I would like, and that's always been the case ever since I got one when it first came out, so it's not like a reformulation thing for me. I've never gotten the best performance out of the original, and that was something that did bum me out. Usually I'll get about 7 hours or so longevity, which isn't terrible, but projection I found not to be that strong either on my skin. I'm sure it's a skin chemistry thing because a lot of people claim to get really good performance out of this one, but for me, it's never been that way. So being that I am a fan of the original, I was delighted to see when we had a flanker come out, Stronger With You Intensely. Toffee, vanilla, cinnamon, and tonka bean are some of the main notes in this one. So this drops the chestnut note, but it's not a big deal because it introduces the toffee. It introduces the nice, warm, spicy cinnamon. It introduces the kind of powdery tonka bean in here as well. So the tonka bean gives off a kind of a chocolatey, coffee, almost hazelnut type of smell. The cinnamon is kind of lending to the spice rather than the cardamom in the original, and the tonka bean is giving you some sweetness and a powdery feel. And of course you still have vanilla in this one being a main player, which is adding just kind of a warm, creamy depth as well. You still get a ton of sweetness out of this one, but it does still kind of remind me quite a bit of the original Stronger With You. However, with the exception of having much better performance. This one is an eau de parfum, whereas the original is an eau de toilette. So with this increased concentration, I get something that lasts longer on my skin. Usually it's going to be around in that 8, 8.5, 9, maybe even 9.5 hour range, just somewhere up there. So the longevity is increased on me. And I also find the projection to be a bit stronger. And not only necessarily projection, but also the way it lingers in the air. You know, it sticks around in the air for a longer period of time. It lingers, whereas the original doesn't do it quite as much. For example, I just sprayed this one up in the air a second ago to smell it, and even after it's had time to settle, I can still smell it in the air. You know, it is heavier, it is more dense, and it will stick around, meaning this leaves a great scent trail. And that scent trail will lead you to a lot of compliments. So if you like the original, but you want something a bit stronger, something that's just going to get you noticed and recognized a bit more, Intensely is a really solid option. Love everything about this one. I just love how satisfying the color of the fragrance itself is in the bottle. Very nice, very attractive looking design all the way around. This one here is really nice. Moving along, and by the way, this is not in any particular order, as you'll see in a second, we have Stronger With You, Absolutely. So Freeze, I believe, did come between Intensely and this one. Now, this one just came out this year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just kind of going out of order in terms of release, but I'm trying to go in order in terms of just kind of this falls in line more with the others rather than Freeze, if that makes any sort of sense at all. But what does make sense is the note breakdown. This one has chestnut, rum, and vanilla as some of the main notes. So the chestnut's back, and I was delighted to see that as well, because even though Intensely smells fantastic, I missed the way the chestnut came across in that one. And it's back here for another round, which is great to see that it's kind of going back to the original with that signature note. I think that makes the fragrance. And what I also love to see is the rum. It opens up with a bit of a boozy rum. The vanilla is still there in the base, giving you that creamy sweetness. Very, very well done. I find that Absolutely in the opening has a bit more of an aromatic tendency, and just kind of throughout the life of the fragrance as well. It's still pretty sweet and still very strong, but there's just quite a bit of a less focus on being overly sweet. You know, this one I would say is going to be probably the most maybe grown up version of all of them, because the overload of sweetness in the others to some people will make it seem a bit playful and a bit youthful, and to that I would agree. But this one, adding some more aromatic tendencies, adding the nice rum in there as well, it does kind of counterbalance that sweetness. And with that, you get something that just feels a little bit more put together and less juvenile. This one right here, even though I saved this to the end, is one of my favorites. Stronger With You Absolutely was a fantastic release and a great addition to the line. I find performance on Absolutely to be one of the best, coming in on average of 9 hours. Sometimes I'll get longer, and I also find projection to be strong as well. And moving along from that one, we have Stronger With You Freeze in the gorgeous frosted glass bottle. I mean, just take a look at this. Very, very satisfying. Camera doesn't quite do it justice. Just the lighting isn't quite picking up on it. I don't know if that helps at all. But it does look very nice, especially in person. Love frosted glass, looks fantastic. One thing you'll notice with this one is it doesn't have a clear color fragrance. It doesn't have a blue colored scent. It's still that light brown color, kind of reminiscent to the original. So that does mean that you're still getting that Stronger With You DNA. You're still getting sweetness. It doesn't just completely stray away from the scent DNA and going all citrus. While it is a fresher version, it still does tie back to the original, and that I think is awesome. Vanilla, ginger, lime, and lavender are some of the main notes in Freeze, so it does open up with that lime kick, a bit of a spiciness coming from the ginger rather than cardamom or cinnamon. So really it opens up with a fresher spice rather than a more oriental, sweeter spiciness. You get a hint of vanilla in the base, you get a nice clean lavender. It simply is just a lighter, fresher, more warm weather friendly version of the original. Now, I wouldn't rush out there and wear this one when it's 80 degrees in the summertime, but for spring, on milder, cooler spring days, for summer mornings, maybe even for summer evenings if you wanted to, this one would work really, really nice. Just something a bit more light and fresh. Even if you're someone who's not a fan of the original or any of the other flankers that are heavier, if you just want something with a bit more freshness that's to you going to be a bit more versatile, Freeze is a nice option. I find the performance on this one to be around 6.5 to 7 hours, so not the best, but at the same time, for being a lighter flanker, it's not terrible. They did step this one down to an eau de toilette, being that it is a lighter, fresher version. So with that would come, a bit of a drawback in terms of the performance, but do keep in mind as well, since you are going to be wearing this one in not freezing temperatures like the others, the cold air isn't going to be killing this one. If you get a little bit of heat on it, it will come to life and project a bit better. And last up, we have Stronger With You leather and the nice reflective gold bottle. Now this one is kind of one of those exclusive editions that, as far as I'm aware, isn't really readily available here in the United States. So finding this one on discounters may be a bit of a challenge. Nonetheless, I was able to secure a bottle of this one, and I'm glad I did. I really like this leather version here. Vanilla, leather, and chestnut are going to be some of the main notes in this one. You also get a bit of elemi as well, kind of giving off a woodiness and a bit of a semi-sweetness. I find that this one opens up spicy just like the rest. You get a nice dirty leather in here, but not dirty in like an overpowering way, just kind of a masculine leather. While this one still is sweet, it's adding in some other facets to make it a bit more rough around the edges. Gives it a bit more body, gives it a bit more of a rugged feel. And this one still does maintain kind of the similar overall feel as the rest of the line, which is nice that they're not straying away from the others here. It is a true flanker where it's nodding back to the original, just adding in some leather, making it a bit more oriental. I find performance on my skin to be a good 7.5, 8 hour scent, which is pretty solid. Being that this one is a eau de parfum, it falls in line with about what I would expect from a scent like this. Projection is pretty good as well, not a room filler, but it does get the job done. So now we're down to the end of the video where I'm going to tell you my favorites and which ones I think are worth picking up. So to start with just my favorite, it's going to be the newest kid. It's going to be the newest kid on the block, Stronger With You, absolutely. I love this one. I love the rum. I love the aromatic feel. I love that it still has the sweetness. This stuff is killer, and again, a parfum concentration. It's rich, it's full-bodied, and it has great performance. Following up next, I would go with Intensely, another great flanker. Stays the most similar to the original, just amping up the performance, which is nice as well. It's still going to be very sweet. It's going to be much sweeter than something like Absolutely, and so that's where a lot of people may gravitate towards that one because it is dialed back. But overall, if you want something that's going to be very sexy and playful and a really good compliment getter, Intensely is the way to go. And last up, I would recommend Freeze. I really like this one as a lighter, fresher version of all of the others, and it's just good for milder temperatures when it's not too hot, not too cold, kind of in between. This one here is a good option. The original is, of course, still great. That's what started it all. It just doesn't perform that good on me, so it's hard for me to recommend. And the leather version, while it smells fantastic, is a bit harder to find. You're probably going to be paying more for it, and in that scenario, I would recommend just sticking with the others that are easier to get on discounters. Absolutely may not quite be on discounters yet, but it will be at some point, and then you can pick it up at a discounted price. And I will link all of these down below to discounters, so if you want to grab them and save some money, you can do so. Let me know your favorite Stronger With You fragrance down below. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.